spaniels running around in the background. That's the noise of pause.
Right.
Okay, so where to start? Probably not there. Start here. Okay, so now what I'm thinking is as a pattern for what a bot is. So a bot usually needs to produce an output, a format. Now, the thing with the format is it's likely to produce a format for two reasons. First one is a human needs to read it, and a human is the same as a bot, effectively in my world. The second one is another bot needs to read it. And so the formats of what's produced actually are the key to testing and many other things.
Right.
So starting with this test format. Now, this test format, I've probably gone overboard, and some of this stuff I'll pull out. But it inherits. I've already told you about global definitions. So it's like, okay, drop it in the global definitions. Everyone agrees. Every bot should agree what a prompt is, an agent is, what a test file runner is, assessor, and what a response is. That's probably not right or not complete and correct, but it's coherent. Then there's local definitions. So you inherit the global definitions and then local definitions. Right, okay, you don't need to read through all this.
Yep.
And then it's like, okay, so the rules, this format must always do this. Okay, so that moves stuff away from artifact into the bot. Because maybe we want to not do .test.md, we want to do .testmeister.md. Who knows, right? But that moves out of the need to change artifact. Now, I'm going on the rule that we should change artifact very rarely because it has so many ripple effects. But you can change bots because we've got a test loop.
Yeah, preferably artifact would never be changed.
Right, exactly. So then we go into, right, okay, front matter, test cases, or you don't need to read all this. But essentially, this is the, you recognize it. It's all that, and it gives examples, and so on. So that's all good. So test format is the thing that something is, a bot is trying to produce. It's its output. So previously what you used to do is say, you are this, here are your definitions, here are your priority rules, here are your rules, and here's your expected output.
Okay.
The expected output can be collapsed into an output file. This are the rules that you need for the output file. So
the
that
rules
means
you need for the output file. So this is what you do when you need to make a constrained formatted output of some kind,
it's
right?
the lingua franca. Is if say in the future something else wants to read a test format,
Right.
it knows what a test format is.
Right. So that is the format specification, which was normally was never read by anybody except program authors. But now, because it's all done by agents, probably the agents need to read the format because they're about to make a program just in time.
Yes,
all the time.
And they need to say if there's a test bot that needs to talk to a switchboard, make it nice and pretty bot. They both need to talk in the same structure. Otherwise, you're going to get
they need a what's the word for that? It's like they need a protocol.
They need to a protocol or lingua franca, or just need to agree what it means, what you're talking about when you test format.
Right.
So I think starting with the test format is really, really helpful because what you're asking is what you're trying to get out. This is even before you start to apply it to any particular application. And so this is like one step up from artifact. This is something that you don't want to change often, but can change without changing artifact. Now, part of that is global definitions. Now, this is a bit Mickey Mouse because I don't really need to tell them what an agent is or a prompt is. It's going to work. But I wanted to put it in there just to prove the point that embedding this test priority definitions, what you can do is say these definitions override your local definitions. So if you happen to have said a prompt is something an actor is given by their stagehand just before going on stage, no, it's not. A prompt is something you type in, because otherwise it all goes awry.
So you're making sure that there's a shared set of terms that all of the agents have the same thing in their prompt.
Right. So priority definitions, go back to global definitions. The following are definitions are the definitions to use. They supersede any other expectations you may have, including anything that you've been refined, you've had any kind of training on, anything the model thinks. Forget all that. This is what we mean by a prompt. This is what we mean by an agent, and so on. So then we get some definition on it. And then if you look at the local definitions, the following words have specific definitions used within test files. This is test files. Okay, so they can be overridden by priority definitions. If similar words, and now we get to the fuzziness of natural language, if similar words are used and match the description of the word, then fine. If you use run, or you say running, or sprint or jog instead of run, sure, because you've got a definition. You're talking about a test file, and so the idiot meat brain doesn't need to know that you need to use the word run. You could just say, jog your way to running, jog your way to this test file, and it will work out because it knows what it will translate that to run, and then everyone else in the chain knows that run is what you're actually talking about. So that's the next step.
Basically your gist is that by getting this set of definitions tight, then our test should pass, because there'll be the format will be interpreted correctly from the bot that makes the test to the bot that runs the test to the thing that is knowledgeable about the test, right?
Exactly. And given your earlier Inuit idea, the word for run in Inuit and the description, the run can be translated into a description. I don't know what it is. It'll be something like move fast with your legs, or run a piece of software, and the bot will be able to say the event where the user indicates that the test file runner must carry out the actions, and so we've nailed it.
Right. Okay. So there should be the chance of the bot missing should be very low.
Cycle by cycle, what we're doing is we're reducing the ambiguity. Now the rest we don't need to go through, because that's just arbitrary. Front matter, fine. Now, the question that I've got is, so here's the test file format. What I've not written yet, but what I'm planning on doing. So we've got test file runner, requester, results summary. That was my one. Assessor. We've got a bunch of. We even got test gen there. We've got a bunch of things to do with tests. Now, what I'd like to do is to write this in the same, effectively cut and paste the format into each of those, saying you must follow this format. And so suddenly now we can write as many test agents as we want, and they're all talking the same language. So they all know what it is, whether they're ingesting it, whether they're reading it, whether they're writing it. They all know what's right.
So yeah, I got that. I got that. I got that.
Now, the next piece, if you agree, is I think what we need is kind of one agent to run the tests and has some intelligence. So it's like, right, I'd like to.
Yeah, so that's supposed to be the test controller, which I think is the sorry, test requester. If you go into test requester in the list of agents, that is supposed to be, that's the thing that you talk to about tests.
Yep.
And it's supposed to be able to start, its function is to be able to call a test controller, and then a test controller triggers file runs, because we're using the file runner very badly right now. It's supposed to be a drone that is run by a controller.
Right. So let's say test requester is the test bot, the only test bot that you know about. Actually,
that's supposed to be the only one you ever know about is the requester.
And you see something like test requester run tests against router, and it can make intelligent guesses around, well, the router test. The router is in agents router.md. The test is in test router.test.md. We know that because every agent agrees with the test format, and they know where it should be, where the folder should be. So you don't even need to say it. So all you need to say is test this, and then you can ask questions of it, because we've got the test result summary, which will also be available to it. It's like, okay, so give me an easy way of, it's like, just tell me what's
wrong. So that it would require an info file that was the TPS report.
Yeah, absolutely. TPS report still, all this does, and does at the moment, is read a TPS report.
Yeah, but right. Okay, but what I was getting at is that in the info folder, just like you've got the test format, there should be a TPS format.
I would put the TPS, because unless TPS format is going to be used for anything else other than the test, I would say we put that inside of the test format, which is where I ran out of time last night.
I think that it doesn't,
because if it's not,
because you can very easily, the test format goes from the markdown test document into the TPS format. You don't need to know about the TPS format so long as the terms are the same, because all you need to know to be able to create the TPS report is what function parameters should you call the TPS report upsert function with. You don't actually need to know what happens after that, and so you can reduce your prompt down.
Right, exactly. So one of the things I was going to say is, okay, so we've got test format, which everyone agrees is the lingua franca. Okay, now you've got a language, you can do different things with it. It's like, I might want to generate a TPS report. Might want to read a TPS report. We don't want two places that we have to define TPS reports. We want one place. So putting logic in here, saying if the user is requesting a TPS report to be displayed that is already existing, go to this bot and display it. And the bot knows what the TPS report is, because it knows about the lingua franca of the test format. It's like, oh, I know a TPS report is meant to be in request.test.md. .json, and it's like, okay, now I'll do my stuff. So it's a little bit like this is the one place that everyone goes to make sure that they're talking about the same thing, but they might not want to do the same thing. One might want to write
Correct.
a TPS
Yep.
report.
Yep.
One might to read it.
Yep. Yep. That's right. That's right.
Now, my question
is, I think that a good format for the test requester is that if it wants to ask questions about the TPS report, it should probably talk to a bot that specializes in the TPS report, because the reason I suggest that is that if you lump everything into the test requester, you end up with this really big system prompt, which we know performs poorly. The bigger the system prompt, the worse the performance. And so if the test requester knew how to call another bot that knew all about the TPS format, that's a better model, right?
Yeah. And so what I'm looking for here, I don't know how to do it, is if this, then that. For example, with the requester, if someone is looking for a summary of an existing TPS report, do that, and then you go to test format, and there's a whole bunch of stuff about writing TPS reports which are relevant, so let's not include that. We can put that into other files. We can chunk this into saying, here's how to, here's the TPS report format if you want to read it. And you've only got read writes with an R. And you can put that TPS report back into another file. And then if you want to write one, again, it's like, okay, so you want to write one, but then you're referring to the same format. So if you change the format, then it ripples up, and you can go through testing on to make sure that it's self-coherent, correct, and complete.
Right.
So the question is, how to put if this, then that, that triggers off another agent in commands. I'm not sure
if
about
this, then that.
Yeah.
Isn't that just prompting? Like, you're like, if this thing, then call this function, else call this function.
Give me an example, because I've tried.
What's your exact use case? What's your exact use case of what you want to decide between?
So let's see. I'll need to create a new one. I'll create a crash page. Say, okay, so you've got TPS summarizer, and you've got TPS reader. Now the summarizer can only read an existing TPS and must return an error if the TPS doesn't exist, or if it's the
right, and that's an agent, format. Right? They're both agents.
Yeah, exactly. The wrong format, and it's like, and then you go insert what it means to be TPS format. So that's the summarizer. TPS reader simply outputs the contents of TPS. So long as it's valid. So again, it needs TPS format. Same thing. And then you've got another one. Sorry for my typing. Then you got TPS writer. You know where I'm going with this, right? writer.
Does
Runs
this
a
fit in
bunch.
nicely to the idea of topic branches? Like
Yes, it absolutely
having
does.
having an agent instead of an isolate call seems more suited to topic branches because you would only call the TPS summarizer, like the calls. Breaking up the system in this way means that the times that you invoke these modules of functionality are much more likely to be aligned with a topic change than if you try to pack all this stuff up,
Yeah,
because right,
because
the more you
you could have
break the
one
bots
big
down.
one, and you could put if he's asking to be summarize a TPS, or if he wants to summarize a reader or a writer, you just stick that all the stuff in, saying, hey, and you could prompt it, but you'd end up with
It's more modular. It's much more
counting.
modular in this way, I think, because you could squash them up, but it would mean that each time you switch topic, you had to bring the whole thing with you
Right,
every
and
time.
you're bringing a whole bunch of stuff saying, I'm considering
Yeah, you
TPS
got more
summarizer,
knowledge
TPS
than you
reader,
need.
TPS writer. I choose not to do the writer because you're asked to just read it.
Yeah, the bot starts to lose its brain because it's like it's
Yeah,
got too much to think about. But if you
right.
modularize, then you can get very, very good. Plus, it provides excellent testability because you can test them for a dedicated purpose.
Right.
And I like bundling the intelligence with the function rather than it being a pure code call, because the intelligence can interface correctly with a system that isn't being precise. The intelligence can tolerate questions from its caller being less than ideal, whereas the code cannot. And so
Yes.
this principle of putting an AI in between the code, because the code is cold and hard and unforgiving, but the AI can definitely translate for you. And so yeah, this is a good model actually.
Yep, yep, yep. Okay. So now I'm writing the requester for exercise. Um, you will pass over the context of the TPS or tests to run to the most appropriate bot. It's like, boom. Okay, so now it knows about what a TPS is because under like I've only gone to global and local, but it's like insert definitions to do with testing, and you'd also probably put in insert definitions to do with global. So definitions that everyone agrees with, and definitions that everyone who's got to do with testing agrees with. And so you know what TPS is. You know what a TPS summarizer is. You know what a TPS reader is. You know what a TPS writer is. So you can make, with a really small bot, you can route to the TPS summarizer. Now, the summarizer doesn't need that whole big bot that I've got. All it needs is the small bot that says, okay, I know the TPS
Right.
format,
Yeah, so this is
and I'm going
good.
to
So
say,
this is
use
like an
this.
AI, it's an AI module. So
Yeah.
instead of it being an isolate, it's an AI wrapper, an AI interface that sits between the isolate
Yeah,
and the caller.
it's a drone, but I mean, we're talking about drones, but I'm starting to get
The drone's
uh,
better. The drone's better than the isolate because the isolate's
yeah,
too you need you need to come correct when you call the isolate, and you need to have a lot of prompting and testing to make sure you always call correct.
Right, right. But also the thing with drones is, okay, so say if right at this side.
But it's getting quite late for me. I'm gonna. Is there?
No, I'll just do by speech instead of painfully typing out. So the commands of this one would be you can read and write inside of the test folder, right? Then it's like, okay, I'm going to call the summarizer. Summarizer can only read. So you're removing a command.
The more you can remove it, the better the modularity.
Yeah. Right, and the writer can only write. Well,
right.
no, actually, you need to read and write.
Right. And so how does that affect the format by which you need to call each drone? Like, it starts to become very open formatted, right? Which is like, there really is no need to be strict on how the TPS summarizer gets called, because it will always gracefully error. Like, if you send it a request that it's like, I can't do that, it will tell you in text, and then the bot can fix it. And so it's better than getting an error that came from a function call.
Yeah, yeah. It really is something like that. I mean, you can see where I'm going, right? I know you're getting late, so I'll keep it short. If the user wants to read, if the user wants to generate, and otherwise, fuck off. All right. That's the functionality I need. It's like, if do that, because that is that's kind of a router.
I don't get so yeah, but isn't that just done? Like, you just did it there.
Well, how do I stop it? Caveat, because you've got to go. It's getting late.
I just want to hear the question, dude. Like, I'm sorry to be rude, but you ask me the question that you want.
Yeah. What I'm working on is not what I want from you. You don't have to do anything. What I'm working on is how to get that. If the user wants a summary, do that. If the user wants to read, do that. If the user wants to regenerate, do that. Otherwise, fuck off.
What's wrong with how you got it there?
Probably nothing, but I've not tested it.
What's the question?
So,
how do you do this conditional thing?
No. This is the conditional thing that I need in order to modularize what's quite a large testing prompt. If I can get that modularization done, and this is on the prompting side, if I get this modularization done, then I think we're on to reuse, deduplication, and also what we're talking about.
Okay, so the most powerful way I can think of to do that is that you're basically asking for 3 drones here that get called conditionally. Now, if I give you just a single drone function and require this agent to call each drone, I think there's more chance that it will make a mistake there. So what I should give you is the ability to make a function, a drone call, where when you specify it in the agent file, you highly constrict it. So there will be like one dedicated function for calling the TPS summarizer, and it will have a description about what the TPS summarizer does.
So it'd be something like.
How can I write to this file? Because I can write you in shorthand what it's going to be. Can you paste it over to me?
Yeah. Just next. How do you want it? WhatsApp. It's quite amusing that most people using WhatsApp don't realize it was based on advert in the 80s.
What? I didn't realize that.
My point is well made.
But was it a good point?
Well, who can tell? Time will tell. History.
Like since the 80s, there's not enough time.
But I was saying, this is the route I'm going down, and so really, what my question is, can you see any gotchas that I'm wasting my time doing?
No, dude. I think this is the way. I think modularity has always been the thing that we need, but it's always been a little bit unclear exactly how to do that. So. Oh, one, you're about to get ripped. So, in the config for this file, the way that right now, the way that the code is set up is that you would go drone, execute or whatever, and then you would require it to enter, like, when it wants to call the TPS summarizer, it would be saying the equivalent of drone execute, and then its parameters would be text TPS summarize, or sorry, that would be like the agent path, and you'd be expecting it to write agents / TPS summarizer. .md, right? Now if I gave it to you like this, then your chances of hitting that correctly would be weak, I would say, because on occasion it will hallucinate about the path, or it will,
what you've done before.
Yeah. And so what I propose to add for you is that you'll have a way to customize what the command is. And so you'll say, where was it? So here, in this file, the remappings, this is the next generation of the interface, the format of an agent file. And if we implement this now, what it will mean is that you'll be able to look, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to just do it. I'm gonna have to just do it.
The definition of it is.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? So instead of this one function, I would give you 3 functions, where I would say oh dear.
3 functions for each of those. The summarize, read, and generate, whatever it was. Is that what you're about to say?
Yeah. So you'd be able to write a command called summarize, and then what you would do is you would customize it within the config, so without updating artifact in any way whatsoever.
So where are we? Basically within the inside of the prompt itself. Right. Okay. Cool.
Inside of the agent file, you would modify it, and so
perfect, because that keeps it in one place. When you're reading it, you understand it. Because hunting and pecking for isolates, by the way, is a pain in the arse.
I know, dude. I'm sorry, but I found a real easy way to let you read the code in. I realized that the code is right there in the deployment on Deno, and all I have to do is read it from the disk, and then you have the isolates as a command, and you can.
That's
right.
Nice.
That's simple.
As a cherry.
Yeah. That's an easy one. So I'll put that in. So here, what you would do is you'd be calling the drone isolate with the function call execute, but you would set the description to be. Would be this description.
Yep. Okay.
Yep. And then you don't need branch, you don't need stop on tool, and then for parameters you would say like text.
The file name.
Yeah. No, because
it's not stripped out.
Oh, wait on. I think you might be right. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Hidden was the thing that I wanted to say. So like you could hide, you could basically set the agent path, bake it in, and hide it from the actual bot. So the bot doesn't even know anything about the agent path.
Brilliant.
Okay, so that's what I was talking about a subdirectory tests should only consider its home as tests.
That's different. No, this is different. This is locking the parameters of the function call. So for example, it's going to call the drone function, it's going to call drone execute, but it's going to have one of its parameters filled out already, which is going to be the path to the agent. And so then like you have to define a second function call, which is going to be dash what do you call it? Dash read.
Yeah.
And then you specify the things about it there.
Kind of thing.
So what it means is that you can write the description in the prompt.
This is awesome because by exposing this information, I'm pretty sure when I was doing last night, cutting and pasting from isolates in order to get tests, it doesn't need to know that because it's got what it can refer from description, parameters, etc. what it can and can't do.
Right.
And so that's all we need for tests. And so that means I don't necessarily need to go into isolates in order to get an ERD.
You lost me right at the end there. Sorry.
Effectively, what you're doing here is exposing the isolates that have to do with this bot. Now, if we start with tests, so this is a test, or this is you generate this from tests and pull from isolates, and then do your this is a rule, and so on. Then it's relatively simple to generate well-formed tests that go into every nook and cranny that you can then run against this particular drone. Oh no, sorry, this particular agent. I still didn't get you, did you? It's a good thing.
Yeah, I'll leave that. The automated test generation, whilst that sounds tantalizing, I'm not sold on it until you can get the basic handcrafted ones going.
Yes. However, what I've got, and we don't have time. We'll do it tomorrow. Even with a dumb bot, I've generated tests which didn't know what a TPS report was and so on.
All right. So that's fine. But I think that's confusing. That's confusing the point of this system here. Right, this system is about how do we design a modular agent architecture, and how do we design, how do we design this one bot thing, but also,
I'm summarizing it. It's a good thing. I'll expand on that later, another time.
Okay, so I'll add this to the list of things to give you, because if you can have this, then it means that you can on the fly pull in agents. Actually, no, what I should do, this is actually scratch all this. This is not that great. I should give you, if I said that there was a distinction between, like I made an actual thing that was drones, and these are the drones you're going to call, and you're going to call the summarized drone, and that summarized drone is going to have the agent is going to be agents slash TPS summarizer.md. Is that roughly right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you're going to have so we'll ditch that. The description of the agent is however long you like.
No, I'd probably add that description into the summarizer, because otherwise, what's the summarizer doing? It's just like being called as a dumb bot.
So what I would make it do then is, if you don't give me a description here, I will use the description that's in the TPS summarizer file.
Yes.
But what you might find is useful is to override the description so that you can inform this bot that is being run more succinctly what the purpose of this drone is. Because
what would be better than overwriting would be concatenation.
I knew you were going to ask that. So I'll call that we'll call that extra description.
Yep.
Extra D. Extra description will be added to it. If you type in description, it'll overwrite it.
Yeah.
And if you leave it all out, you'll get the default, which is already in the agent. Yeah?
Right.
How's that?
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
Yep.
Does extra description go before or after the description of the TPS summarizer?
I would say that extra description goes above it.
Above it?
Not that. Yeah, because
You're playing a dangerous game, my friend. You're smushing together two bits of text that were written independently and hoping they make sense together.
No. What I'm saying is
that's exactly what you're saying.
You've got right. Let me give me my thinking. You've got a description in Summarizer.
Yep.
Now, what we want to do is to add to that. If extra description doesn't exist, then does description exist? If it does, wipe it out and write the description in here. And if extra description and description doesn't exist, go with what TPS Summarizer says.
No, you didn't answer my question. Does extra go in the front or at the end of the existing description in TPS Summarizer?
Okay, so we've got three descriptions to talk to here. TPS Summarizer .md has its own description.
Mate, why is that not a yes or no answer? Like, what's hard about? Just tell me. Do you want it at the start or the end?
Because it'll give you a yes or no, and you go right.
I'll take it. Whatever one you want, I'll do it.
Right. Extra description should be the first thing.
Should be the first. Okay, so pre-description. So it's a prefix.
Yeah. So
prefix description.
The first thing you do is actually no, we're talking about a different thing.
Oh dear.
Right. Summarizer has a description.
Yes. This file has a description. Yep.
Yep. If it, as you got it named now, prefix description exists, then you just add it to the end of the description that's already in the summarizer.
Well, then that would be called the suffix description.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And if suffix description doesn't exist, but description does, the agent description gets wiped out and you can do anything with it.
Yep. Sounds good to me.
Cool.
And then I'll leave it to you to make sure the English makes sense if you were to suffix it.
Yep.
Your problem. Okay. You don't need any of that. You need nothing. Okay. And so under this format, then we'll go on to the... Ooh.
Yeah, because what we're doing there is we're inheriting the general TPS Summarizer, or we're enhancing the general TPS Summarizer with a suffix, or we're just lobotomizing the TPS Summarizer and we're saying do that.
Um,
Actually,
only
do we
for
need
the
description at
description.
all?
Only for the description, though.
I think maybe we don't need description at all.
Dude, you absolutely need the description because the description is what goes into the function call to tell, so that the agent uses that description to decide when to call that function. It is a
Yeah,
crucial part of the prompting.
but if the okay, so take TPS summarizer has a description, and we enforce that by formatting rules.
Yeah.
Then you can, the suffix is additional information. It's more nuanced.
Yeah.
But if you allow a user to overwrite the TPS summarizer, maybe it's going to go take over the world .bot.
But it's
So you can
only
do
it's
you can do
only
anything with it.
it's only overriding this part of the TPS summarizer, the part that's in description. That's
Well,
all
yeah.
that's all that would be being overwritten.
Okay. Maybe there's a place. I mean, for example,
Okay, I don't think this
yeah,
matters
yeah,
because
it doesn't.
I'll
It
make
doesn't. It
it,
doesn't.
and then if you
But
don't like it and it doesn't work, then we'll change it. All right.
yeah, the general arc is right.
Okay, and
Where we're
then
going with this is right.
okay, and then the last thing we were talking about is there's a summarizer, there's a reader, now there's a writer.
Yeah.
So just to be abundantly clear, all you would do is say agent/tps/writer.md, and then those are your. I will turn those into functions that get sent along with this system prompt.
Yep.
And then you'll need to prompt it correctly, which you'll have to validate using different tests. But ultimately, what it's going to do is it's going to call those three functions.
Call summarizer. If you want to read,
Yeah.
call reader.
Yeah.
If you want to call writer, call writer.
That's right.
And then I can do any, natural language, fuzzy, what's it? Timey-wimey, wibbly-woo thing.
Wibbly-woo. Yeah. And so you don't need any isolates. There's no isolate calls going on there.
Right.
And I'm actually starting to wonder if this is how most things should go, because why this is great is that the prompting that glues these three agents together is probably not going to be much more than this, right?
It's not. It's
going to be some definitions or definitinos, and then
the thing is, with what we were talking about before, with the selection of let's call this tester bot. If we've got the one bot to rule them all, and you start talking about testing, it knows what testing means, and say if you're vague, it'll go, oh, do you want to summarize a previous test, or do you want to run a new set of tests?
Like the fact that it can only do these things means that it's almost like we've made one of those call flow things of old, where it's like push 1 for summarization, push 2 for reading, but it's softer than that, right? But it's I think it's called segmentation. Like we're segmenting the intent because it can only be one of these three or unclear, which is as you put it.
Yeah.
That one. And so segmentation of intent has a better feel to it as a user of a system that is trying to segment my intent and clarify it. That feels better than it trying to be this big know-it-all thing that's just going to magically somehow figure it out.
Right, and see if
we're talking to the one bot, and we say, "Oh, can you test, this following, grammatically incorrect sentence and so on?" It would look through, saying, "Well, the description, this agent tests bots. You're not asking to test bots. Okay, let's go to the grammar bot." So
it's sort of
knows what it can do, and it will help the one bot to say.
It encourages a more multi-turn action, a more multi-turn interaction with the user, which is
Yeah.
always going to be better, because if you're asking lots of little questions along the way, the user doesn't feel like they have to think too hard. They're just sort of grunting, yeah, no, yep.
Which is why coders hate writing, requirement specs, right? It's like you got to think of everything all at once.
All at once, yeah, and it's hard.
You can't
That's
do
right. That's exactly right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the next sort of feature that you need. I'll fix this bug, and then I'll look at this, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. If you fix the bug, and I can fake this up and see if I'm right at any of this thinking, and then we'll talk tomorrow.
Okay.
But we'll find out. But I think we're on to a good thing here, especially when we're talking about one bot.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah,
I think so too.
Yeah. Jesus, man, I'm really quite tired after this session. That was quite a lot of thinking. Might need another coffee.
We covered some of the longest running problems I've had with our design, or the longest running uncertainties that I've had with our design.
It seems to be getting really, I don't know. It seems like the answers are just like falling out. It's obvious.
Yeah, that's a good sign. That means that we've sort of ended up in the right area. Okay.
Yeah.
So Hammer will be a topic branch based system that could be programmed in Inuit for all we care, and we'll have this sort of one major bot running on like this forever thread that's just swapping topic branches in and out.
Yeah. Now, the thing, just before you sign off, because I know you're well over time now, the thing I would like from you is, so, what is today? Is it Friday today? I think it's Friday, isn't it?
Dude,
well, it's different day. You're on the wrong dates. I've got today, tomorrow, next. I've got 3 days, 3 full days left of work. If there's anything that you want me to prioritize for your side, because you've been asking me to,
get the testing,
give you stuff.
Yep.
I'm assuming it's going to be the testing.
Testing. Simple testing. Any testing. That's all I want.
Right.
And
okay, so I'm going to hammer, and my head mark is I want to get a bunch of hammer tests
run, and even if they fail.
No, not even that. Just the router tests, the switchboard tests, if you still think switchboard is relevant, the file writer test, just the basic tests. That's all I want.
It actually doesn't. Yeah, if you get it right, it actually doesn't matter.
Well, it does, because Hammer, you don't even have a working Hammer system, so there's no way to know that your tests ran correctly.
I know, but
yes, you're right. But a fail is also an interesting thing. If you get some passes,
right.
Some
so the thing that I want most from you is the ability to interpret a test format with dependencies in the test, because we can't currently detect that and put it in the TPS report correctly. Now, the alternative is that you live without the dependencies, but this was a feature that you wanted, and you convinced me that it's worth it. But that's the missing piece from the testing that means that the testing doesn't bloody well work, is because the dependencies are not being interpreted from the test file and turned into the befores array in the TPS report. Now, I'm happy for you to rename that to dependencies or anything you like, but that is currently the feature we're missing, and that was the feature you asked for.
I know, and I don't know straight off how to do that. However, what we'll do,
call in 01, like read in the agents, and then go 01. Here's my problem, and then work with 01.
I'm gonna nibble away at this in terms of breaking up into the point where there are dependencies to test. Then I'm gonna look at how those dependencies are actually reported in the TPS. Last thing. TPS report is in Artifact, right?
Correct. So the TPS report is to be found.
I'm unpack for it. and I can't alter artifact without shitting all over your repo.
What? Sorry, what?
Well, I could.
You can't. I don't know how many times I got to tell you this. You can't shit on my stuff. I made it that way. You can do anything you like.
I'm nervous because it's fucking stuff I don't know about, and it's like, okay.
You don't have the ability to break my toys. I made it that way, so don't worry about it. Get on with it.
I can shit all over artifact and then use the no cache.
Yeah, but what do you want to? What do you want to do to it?
Well, for example, add in the dependency root that was called inside of a TPS report would be one thing.
What?
For example, you said you need to track dependencies. So if I say insert definitions of global, or insert global definitions, I shouldn't. There should be something saying. In this call, we used global definitions. We used local testing definitions. That sort of thing.
I don't understand you, man. How would that fit into the artifact repo? What file would you put that in, and what would you be trying to do?
Whatever writes the TPS report, I would want to be able to pass something to the TPS report that's generated.
Do you want to change? Are you asking to change the TPS report?
Add to it. Yes.
Add to it. Why do you want to add to it?
Because what I'd quite like to do is on each one, give an indication of where, if a certain test has had to insert, the insert definitions, you get a big one. It would be better, I think. For example, this is one example. I would add, say, it's using global definitions. And here's the root. Or here's the path, rather. Now, I don't have to do that.
Why would you do that? Why would you not? What's wrong with just... Look.
I don't have to.
We don't have the basics of testing, and here you are trying to modify the TPS report format. To what end?
All right.
You don't have basic testing. You asked me for this feature, the before feature. You wanted it.
Man.
I gave you but I stayed up late. I worked really hard to make sure you had everything for the before feature, and you keep doing everything you can to dance around it and do something different. Can you not just get the basic testing going?
Right, I'll tell you what,
I will ask you for it tomorrow morning. How about that?
Give me the basic testing, and you can ask for the next lolly in the stack. I mean, we're dead in the water without this basic testing.
Well, actually, I think we're just trying to get up on the plane. Once we get on the plane, we're motoring. But right now, we're plowing.
So I'll give you this...
I guess what I was saying is what you answered is if I mess around with Artifact, it will be reflected in a new session, and I'm not going to shit over your stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
But I'd really say, well, your problem is not in Artifact. Your problem is prompting.
Yes, but as I saw last night when I brought in Artifact into that ERD,
yeah,
it suddenly became much richer.
Right, that's right. And so I think what you're talking about is actually the isolate that gets called to generate the TPS report. The TPS report file I sent you is the format. Mm-hmm. The isolate that gets called to write that file is this thing, the test case runner.
Oh yeah, okay. I found that before. That actually went into that ERD.
Yeah. And so what's actually happening? Oh wait. Sorry, wrong file.
You're getting way over your
mate
points.
I'll worry about that.
All right, thank you.
Where was the thing? if you were looking out for me, I would have a testing framework.
I'm trying my fucking best, man.
Well, you're trying your best to avoid it. That's what you're
No,
trying.
no.
In the TPS report isolate, which I'll admit now is confusingly named, but the first file I sent you is this is the schema of the TPS report. So that's the on disk format.
Right.
And then this file is this is the isolate.
That's what actually okay, I misspoke. That's what I'm after. Is the because the isolates have prompting in it, right?
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to ditch that. I'm trying to get out of that so I don't because that's not really my problem, right? Like, so here this function is what gets prompted to the agent, and this piece of text makes it into the prompt, and that's what sucks about the setup we got, because that's your domain.
Yeah.
It's stuck here. And for you to change, is this what you're asking to change? You want to change this? Yeah. You could do that right now. Like you could just go edit and then change anything you want.
Whatever.
Change anything you want, and then as soon as you click save, that will deploy to the world. So
right. and that will not shit on your stuff.
Well, I think you might shit on your stuff. I can always roll it back, but you might cause the system to be unresponsive. Give it a go. I'll never hold it against you if you break something. It'll probably be mostly you that's upset about it anyway. But it should be that you just edit that file and then click save, and then you'll have a new thing in there.
Grand. Okay. I'll try not to shit too much on your
If you just stick to changing the strings, you'll be absolutely fine. As soon as you go outside of the strings, I guarantee you nothing.
I do not, unless my cat walks over my keyboard.
Give it a go. I mean, you probably find it fun to see it all, shit itself in flames.
No, I would not feel fun.
What we're really trying to get to is the position where this is no longer in the code, and it's more it's in it's in markdown files, it's in somewhere else, like it's just
exactly.
I still don't know how to do it except for that new format that I told you, but even that's a bit dorky. So yeah, we'll see. But anyway, we can at least, if I give you that drone functionality, then all of this prompting becomes in your land for drones.
Yeah.
Which sounds like that's the main, that's actually the main way that we should write these apps, I think.
I seem to have put my hand up. Why did
you did, yeah.
I don't know what that is about.
It told me your name too, in case I forgot.
Yeah. Oh, fuck it. Right, good. I've got everything I need. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue the stuff that I'm about 75% through where I want to be in modularizing the test.
Right.
And then once I've done that, I'm going to stick it through the ERD01 generator, and then see how close the test that it thinks is reasonable is close to what I think it should be doing. And then I'll be ready for the drones. So I've got a day's worth of work. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Okay, and I'll fix this bug, and then I'll give you that drone format anyway. That'll probably be your tomorrow morning that you get that.
That's cool. So what I'm going to do is probably about 9-10 hours from now, I'll give you a call to say where I'm at.
Yep.
That'll be your morning. It's a bit of a handover.
Yep.
And then I'll get some sleep, and then I'll be up 6, 7, something like that a.m., which would be roughly 7 hours later. And they'll pick it up.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to cram as much as I can in these 3 days.
Yeah, it's always good to
possibly
make use of these kinds of little mini sprints because you can get quite a lot done if you really push it.
Yeah. Well, it's all down to having people not get fucked off with you for not being around. And
I know, right? It's the most it's the most difficult balance to strike. It's like, trust me, you want what comes at the end, and like, but we don't
it's
want
like,
what it costs to get there. You're like,
yeah, you've been saying that for years. It's like, no, we're getting closer and closer. You've been saying we're getting closer and closer for years. It is possible, actually, to get closer.
It
and
is
closer
possible
to years,
to get closer
you know?
constantly for years. It is absolutely possible, you know, and
In fact,
you know,
it's the definition of being closer.
yeah,
It's,
yeah. It's like, well, you know, on the flip side, you know, like I've never ever been nasty to anyone who's given me stick about that, but it would be well within rights to turn around and say, what earning potential, what capital gain idea have you been working on?
Yeah, well, I'm a lucky man. Jude has never asked that. It's just like, I assume this is going to work out.
Yeah. But it's like it is actually, there is a flip side to the argument of people saying it takes years. It's like, well, what have you done in the same period of time? What have you done? Like, we're closer and closer to something that we think is pretty cool. What have you done? Did you get a promotion? You know, what did you do? Did you what you got a pay rise?
Yeah, I know.
You know, where's that all going? Like, in 5 years' time, will you be saying you're closer to another promotion? Or is it your retirement you're looking forward to? Like, there's a bunch of actual complete failures that are overlooked whenever people give us stick about how long this has taken. It's like, what'd you do? What'd you do?
Well, the other thing I'm slightly annoyed about sometimes is, thinking about when we get this, it looks like it's going to be so fucking super simple and so obvious that someone's going to say, "Why did it take so long?"
That's a good sign. That's a very pure compliment. That, because it's like, we took the time to make it simple.
Yeah, it's like, and we created out of nowhere, blank sheet of paper, to something that's very simple and you get. And this voice thing, I think, is going to be the thing that's really going to get this.
I reckon that thing, turning this into a tutor for a child is gonna be just so much fun, and it's just like, who wouldn't want that?
But there's so many places you could put it. You could put it in front of someone with SEND issues. You could put it in front of
speech impediments,
an aircraft pilot who's like doing his training. You put it in front of a sapper in the army. There's many places.
Yeah, like, I wonder if you could train abusive customers, and you could train a customer service agent in how best to deal with.
Of course, because ultimately what we've got is, depending on the back end and the personas, which are just the other bots, we've got a one-to-one, and so any situation where there's a one-to-one, we can run.
Right. I think also there's actually a really big utility to label special needs speech, because what I notice with using this stuff on my son is that it doesn't transcribe badly spoken words, and I presume that that's because it didn't have a lot of training data. But if you have a system that's sort of asking clarifying questions like, oh, did you mean this or did you mean that? Then it's, in effect, it's self-labeling the sound that you can then use to train a recognition model that incorporates speech impediments and other types of deficiencies from pure, correctly spoken English, and it can make it more attuned to.
That's really wild. In fact, there was an instance last night
where my daughter, she's doing classics at the moment at high school, and she came back with her essay on Oedipus Rex, but she couldn't pronounce Oedipus. I think she said kept on saying Oedipus or something. I don't know.
Oedipus.
It was wrong.
Whoopsie.
And so every time when she said her, I'd say Oedipus, and she eventually got it. But that kind of interruption was exactly what a bot can do. You could read your, she's only 16, read your essay out, and it gets corrected, and they're saying, "Oh, have you thought about this?" and so on.
Right.
And it's not cheating; it is teaching.
It's deeply teaching, and it's teaching to a broader education plan, because it's like measuring your vocab stats, your pronunciation scores, and it's always trying to notch them forwards, and it doesn't really care in what order, so long as you're expanding.
Yeah.
It's going to be gold, man. Like, I feel like our brains did not develop to nearly the potential they should because we weren't crammed with AI from birth. Like, there is a maximum learning rate, and I don't think any of us have ever come close to it. But now these kids are going to have near maximum theoretical learn rate from the moment they can interact with the LLM. Like, it's going to be so wild.
Well, there's a reason why I don't know, the world record for the mile at the Olympics keeps on getting broken. And it's not because people are trying harder now. It's not because they're evolving. It's because they've got just more tools. You know, they've got wind tunnels. They've got shorts or whatever it is. Anyway.
And those
we're
sticky
talking
shoes.
Shit now, and you need to go.
Okay. All right, buddy.
Right.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll see you there. All right.
See you.
Yeah, man. That was a good one.
That was.
All right. See ya.
See ya.